diversity and leading with inclusion. The data proves that diverse teams lead to greater innovation. They outperform non-diverse teams and provide greater financial returns. We are diving into how founders can ditch traditional recruiting practices and from day one, build a culture that celebrates and supports people from all backgrounds and identities. Hello and welcome, everyone, to the Startup Life Show. I am your host, Andy Lyons. I'm so thrilled you tuned in tonight. I'm a startup founder coach, podcast and live stream host, and co-host of a popular monthly pitch event right here in beautiful Boston, USA called Founders Live Boston. And we are streaming live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Thanks to the oh-so-delicious StreamYard platform. Hi, I'm delighted you carved out time to tune up and tune into your founder game because we always need to keep learning and growing as founders because as we do better, our businesses do better. And those of you who are tuning in live right now, please introduce yourselves in the comment threads. Let folks know where you're hailing from and share your business name and website with each other. Because please, you've got to use this opportunity to expand your network. I mean, it's not like you're getting out to any networking events, right? That's the beauty of live stream events. You can connect with each other here, connect on LinkedIn, follow each other all over the place on social media. You never know where your next collaboration will come from. Your questions and comments are important, so please pop them into the comment threads during our conversation, and we'll do our best to answer them live. And if you know someone who would benefit from our conversation tonight, please share this link with them because they may want to jump in and add their 2 cents worth or have a question for us tonight. Because here at the Startup Life Show, the theme is a problem shared is a problem solved. Okay, so I'm very excited because, well, I'm always excited. You all know that. But tonight, I'm thrilled and delighted because we have a local shero joining us. Her name is Anna Foster, and she's a favorite Bostonian, and she's a leader in the conversation around diversity and inclusion. She's the CEO and founder of A Maven's World. She's a keynote speaker and an author, and I'd love for everybody to give a round of applause. Woohoo! To Anna Foster. Yay!
Hello. Hi, everybody. Yay! Good evening.
Yay. I'm so happy you're here, Anna, because, it's just so important that we introduce folks to one of our local besties, and you really are everywhere, bringing your wonderful grace and understanding of life. But I'd like to know, and I know that folks tuning in would like to know, how does someone who becomes an attorney and is in there practicing law and on payroll leave that to go into the entrepreneur world? So tell everybody a little bit about your launch story, your background, and how you landed where you are today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody. Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. What can I say? And so that's part of my journey. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years.
Yeah, welcome.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
And so what law were you practicing that?
Yeah. So I grew up in a family of attorneys. And so it was the family business that I went into. And so prior to that, I owned different businesses. So I did some paralegal work. I did some transcription work, and some different claims works and things in that nature. But I was always doing it as an entrepreneur. And then I went on to law school after I had my son, who was very young and thought I wanted to practice law. And I did that for several years, but I still had a couple of businesses that I was running at the same time because I just could not give up that entrepreneur life. And as women, we want to put on that superwoman cape, and that as entrepreneurs, we also want to wear that cape and think that we can handle it all until it starts to crash and fall down on us. But just like, you know, most of the entrepreneurs I know, we get back up, we dust our shoulders off, and then we're on to the next.
I'm always saying
we're on to the next.
Founders can do hard things because, my gosh, we do keep getting back up, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
What was next
so I think
for
it's
you?
definitely part of my and our DNA, being a founder and entrepreneur. It's, you know, it's that thing that you love working on it. It's your passion, and hopefully you find balance in doing so over time.
Right, exactly. And we're trying to meet certain needs and, you know, have full expression. It's not because we want to be our own boss, because as you know, as a founder, and as you know, you got your team you're reporting to, investors, clients, but still you do have the flexibility, especially if you're raising a family and have other important challenges and commitments in your life. It does give you a little bit more control versus reporting to work. But I can only imagine what it must have been growing up in a family law practice. I just can't even imagine the conversations, right? Was everything a debate?
Well, that's the other thing, is I'm not a big debater, you know, but I didn't kind of learn that till later on in life, you know, which is why I love doing what I do now.
Well, tell everybody about A Maven's World, because I've been a follower of yours for several years here in Boston, and I'm just blown away by all the wonderful work you do.
Right. So a Maven is a person who loves to share information. You know, some say it's an expert in certain areas, but I like to think and use the part of being a Maven that it's a person who understands.
Right.
And through my journey, I've learned a lot of understanding.
Nice.
And I've worn many hats like most entrepreneurs. And I think that through understanding is, once I learned that I needed to get to that place of understanding and being mindful, is when I actually was able to gain and taste success. Prior to that, I was always running. I always felt like I was missing something, or I was behind on something, or, you know, time was going to run out on me.
And you had a shift.
Yeah. And I had a shift. And through that, I came up with the business name, A Maven's World, because, you know, sometimes people think that Maven is my last name and they'll say, "Hi, Anna Maven." And I say, no, there's tons of Mavens out there. And that's the community that, you know, I'm building.
Right.
You know, because I feel that you have to have that piece of the journey in life.
So when you launched A Maven's World, what was the mission and vision behind it, so that you were compelled to create? And what was the outcome that you were looking to have happen?
Yeah. So it was, you know, like most entrepreneurs, we're creating, and founders, we're creating what we think is missing. So growing up, being born here in Boston, born and raised, I always felt, you know, I lived in a community, but I also was a MECO student. So I grew up in the Mattapan area of Boston, but I went to Marblehead schools from elementary school through high school. So it's hard to build community there.
Oh my gosh, and that's quite a commute.
Especially as a young person.
Yeah.
As a young person. And then when I went on to school at Suffolk University, I felt kind of, again, being the only one. And so when I created A Maven's World, it was to kind of reach back and build a community that I wish that I had. Yeah. And it just so happened that I started with other entrepreneurs that were experiencing challenges and struggles. And I thought I could be that sounding board, and also, you know, combine my skills of law and business and experience and help them along in their journey, so that they wouldn't have some of the pitfalls that I had through my years and decades of being an entrepreneur.
I love that. And what prompted you to hold this incredible conference every year? Because you just had your 8th one before the pandemic.
Yes, we did it. The time is flying. We definitely will be doing our 9th one. So what sparked that is just community again, and the importance of community and building connections. I would always drive down different streets in the area, and I would hate to see small businesses close because they didn't have enough support. So, I was always thinking like, how, if they just had the right connections, or if they had a few more people that would support them, or more resources. But then I also knew, when you're in the business, it's hard to engage in the outer workings of the business. So how do you do that? And so that's why I started the conference, but that's also part of a Maven's world, is just connecting those dots and resources for founders and for entrepreneurs that need that, that person out there that is actually looking for connections and networks for them, and keeping their, I'm always keeping my ear close to what's going on and who's who. And so that's why I can kind of connect the dots and kind of help people along the way by doing so.
What a gift. Seriously.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I guess, it's an organic gift. So, that is redundant, because organic is part of your natural state.
Yeah.
And so it worked for me, especially being a wife and being a mom of 2 children. I needed to find that fit that was natural, a natural course of business that I love to do.
Well, and you're bringing, the hardcore business skills with helping people connect. And that's really one of the hardest things, not just helping folks to connect, but teaching them how to connect. How do you write that great email? How do you make that introduction? And there are ways to do it so that people don't feel like you're bringing strangers into their home. If you don't. I
always like to say, when you're looking to meet someone and connect with them, find out how you can support them first before you ask them for something.
I love that.
So that's a great tip right there.
Everybody hear that?
Yeah, find out how you can support them, in whatever they're doing.
And sometimes that means you're building social equity. Viewers. Okay.
Exactly.
So that means you're retweeting, you're sharing their work, whether it's on Twitter, wherever it is on social media, LinkedIn, you're sharing it, you're commenting on it, you're engaging in what they're doing. That builds an equity up so that they'll be like, oh, okay, I'd like to know more about you. I'd like to be connected with you.
Right. It builds relationships, and relationships are great equity.
Absolutely. I just want to say hi to a few folks from LinkedIn. Hi, hello. Natalia. And then we have Eric Cox. Hi, Eric, founder of Media Prepared, Command Your Moment. And thank you for those kind words, Eric. And Northern California, Richard. Oh, thank you for tuning in. That's amazing. And my co-host from Founders Live, the one and only Andy Jock, founder, co-founder of Synergy. So anyway, so great to see all of you there in the comment threads. And I know more are tuning in as well from the different platforms. But let's talk about something that it really is hard for startup founders, especially if they're working with a real bootstrap, skinny budget. A lot of times, I mean, this can happen in their relationships. If you're not part of the solution, get out of the way, right? It's the same thing that can happen with trying to find good teammates, and even to be thoughtful about good teammates, because you're pressed. Maybe you don't have a CTO. You need to bring a CTO on, and your requirements are that they can code and they can breathe. But you have to have more requirements than that. Not just their hard skills or their soft skills, but where do they fall into the spectrum? Of course, are they in alignment with you and the team or the mission of the company? But we have to think about the variety of backgrounds and individuals, because those different perspectives, right, are what create a more dynamic and successful team. But how does one, let's chat about that. How does one start that from day one, Anna? I mean, I know from having founded businesses, and I grew my .com up to 100 and reversed the order after the bubble burst, but I never once was thinking about diversity and inclusion, except for probably women. I'd like to bring in women, but I wasn't thinking about that. There was no plan in place. I wonder how founders can do this from day one.
Right. Well, we're taught to use tunnel vision when we're setting goals and trying to reach objectives. And we're at a time now that tunnel vision is not necessarily a good thing because we have to coexist, in this world. So, when you're starting out anything, the longer you wait for change or to implement change, the longer you're going to, it's the further it's going to get away because it's not going to be seem to be as important.
Right. We see that happening right now. You saw all the VC funds just scrambling like crazy because frankly, they don't even see this going on. And it wasn't at your event. I think it was at E4All Roxbury's event. They had a gentleman speak, but maybe it was, and he was talking about how in Boston here, Anna, they were saying, well, we'd like to hire owners, from our Black community, but we don't know any. And the head of the Black Economic Committee was like, hello, let me just go fill the Boston Conference Center for you, make it easy for you. Okay. Exactly. What do you mean you can't see any?
Yeah. Tunnel vision, right? I mean, it's the tunnel vision. So when you're looking at, building culture, normally people, they associate in their relationships are with people that look like them. So that's not a great excuse anymore. Companies, VCs, they can't use those excuses anymore because then the question that we push back is, well, where are you looking?
Right.
And where are you looking? And then the big word here is intent. So when you're intentional about something, and you're mindful about it and you wake up with it on your mind and it now becomes part of your habit to go out and seek it, it's that extra step that you have to take.
That's right.
It's that extra step. So you got to do more work. And you got to do a little bit more work. But if it's important to you, you got to add it to that list and be intentional about it.
Right. And anybody who knows, what is it, that reactive part of the brain? Law of attraction, people use it all the time. But what it is let's say you're going to look for a new car. I'll use that as an example. And all of a sudden you go, oh, I've never seen that model before. I really like that model. Who made that car? Oh my gosh, that's a great car. Well, now you're driving down the highway. You haven't bought it yet, but all of a sudden everywhere you look, there's that model car. And you're like, I never saw these models on. They didn't just happen yesterday. They've always been on the highway with me.
Yeah.
So the brain has to be trained on where to look. And I think that is so important. Where are they not looking then, Anna?
Especially this day and age.
Yeah.
Because the world, we're globally connected.
Right.
We're globally connected. So everything is at your fingertips.
Right. And so, but Silicon Valley here in Boston, of course, we're seeing more of the same because they were like, well, I couldn't find anybody. Where do they need to look? Because you and I know they're out there because we're involved in conversations with groups who know where the Black tech founder, the Black tech team, CTO, people are getting trained, and where our Black and brown friends are really excelling in engineering. It's not like they're not going to school. They're there, they're doing everything, working hard.
Right. We're doing what they need to do. Right. So it's literally, you have to step outside of your traditional community. And there's so many different organizations out there that are run by people of color that can assist. So it's not taking those traditional steps. It's being non-traditional and intentional and stepping outside and getting uncomfortable and stepping outside of your comfort zone to do so.
Right. And really opening up the mind to understand that there's so much unconscious bias as well that you're just running off of any day of the week that you don't even know. And so it's great when we have people in our lives that can help us wake up. We hear that a lot, but really it is an awareness issue, just like anything else is an awareness what causes heart disease, exercising, eating well, all these other things that you have to get aware of to be in a good relationship. What is a good practice? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's about what's important to you.
Right.
And that's anything, in life. If it's important to you, you're going to put more work into it. So I think this is, even with talking about startups and VCs, it's no different.
Right.
If it's important to you, you're going to seek it out. And that's part of the issues that we're having now with diversity and inclusion and equity.
Right.
Is, we have to continue to shake things up because we want to bring awareness so that change can happen.
That's so true, because folks, to course correct once you have a team of 20 in place, it's really, really hard. And so from day one, really understanding and doing the research to see what diversity looks like and inclusion. And that can mean hiring a senior, or it could mean hiring somebody who has learning differences, but still has an ability to do the job because they see things differently, as well as people of color, and bringing them in. But also, it's what you were saying, where to look. How can we participate and invest in our community, all aspects of our community?
Right. Well, if you think about how I met you was through the All Together Now event.
Tell folks about the All Together Now event.
Yeah, so All Together Now is co-founded with Betty Francisco, Teresa Nelson, and myself, and Barbara Clark. And we came together because we actually did our one event, which I met you at, but it was really VCs and investors coming together with startups.
Right.
To have conversation about what was needed. And it was really focused around women of color. And we did that down at the District Hall in downtown Boston. And we had a great turnout for our inaugural event. And it showed us that people were ready to have the conversation, but they also were ready to take action and commit. And those are the type of communities that we want to see, right?
Right.
Because when we have diversity and we have diverse voices and experiences at the table, it makes for a better bottom line.
Right.
And so we have to continue having these conversations. So people that are proactive in it and those that are having the conversations like ourselves, they don't feel alone. And they don't feel that they have to be silent. So there's certainly power in numbers. You would think that at this day and age in 2020, we wouldn't still be having these conversations.
Honestly, Anna, people of color, women, I have seen for years, for decades, but even recently, I have seen the questions coming from investors to a woman founder, completely different than to the male co-founder she's working with.
Right. And so even, it's like, again, like you said, it's the unconscious bias of sometimes people don't even realize the biases that they have.
Right.
And that they then place on another person.
Right. And there are hiring practices too that screw up the field, in my opinion. They're not focused on actually the skill set and the ability of that person to be in alignment with the company's mission.
It's like, what are you looking for them to bring?
Right.
And does it may look different, but can they still get the job done? Let's
bring up AJ's question, Andy's questions here, because conversations are a great start. I love this, AJ. But my question is, how do we hold stakeholders accountable afterwards? And this has been a frustration for a very long time.
Well, we're always looking at, they say you always got to look at the data. So companies can have, mean well in regards to, what they bring into the culture, but the data shows what they're, who actually is staying and what the culture continues to look like.
That's right.
Yeah. So we always have to go back to the data and to the numbers. And the numbers are for African Americans and people of color is very small when you look at the funding. And I'm sure you have some of that data. And because you've been doing this for so long, but it's really sad and it speaks volumes.
It does. And you and I both know we have this real challenge here in Boston. I mean, so many wonderful people of color come here and get educated. And they can't wait to leave.
Yeah. Why? So why is that?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, as a person of color who speaks with lots of people of color, is that they don't feel welcome here.
That's right.
They don't feel welcome here. They don't feel like they can excel here. And if that's the case, why would they stay?
Right.
Because, doing our jobs and careers are only they're a big part of our life, but in the grand scheme of things, it is a small part of our life when you look at how it makes us feel. And nobody likes to be in an environment, in a culture, or even an ecosystem where they don't feel welcome.
That's right. And it's true. I mean, I love my hometown. It's getting better day by day. Andy, Jack, you're a leader as well in bringing, so many people together here. But trying to, that accountability thing really is sticking with me because, I'm a fan of my girl here.
I can't see it. Okay.
It's About Time by Arlan Hamilton, who, had no experience as a VC. She was a tour manager for hip hop groups. Okay. But
I love the title.
Yeah. In 2014, she decided that she wanted to fund startups that were founded by people of color and LGBTQ. And no education past high school, Anna.
Right.
And she did it. It took her 4 years. She worked her tail off, met the right people, pulled on threads, got the experience she needed, and really just had the chutzpah, in my opinion. And she cared deeply about other people. And I think that really helped her. But by 2018, she'd raised millions of dollars and invested in 100 startups founded by people of color, women, and LGBTQ folks.
Right. Well, that's like Catherine Finney.
Yes,
who
exactly.
we met. Same thing. And it's people that have felt the pain from it that have shifted,
but
to do the work.
To hold these venture capital groups accountable. Now, why did they just hire that 26-year-old white guy?
Yeah.
And they already have a whole team of white and, a few women.
Right.
Why? Why couldn't they?
But then it's like, well, who's going to ask that question? Should the person look like me or should the person look like you?
It should be me.
Exactly. So that brings, right. So, again, it's that peer accountability.
That's right.
So when we talk about allyship, which is really a big conversation over the last couple of years, that's true allyship. We have to do more of that.
How do I do it without, people know me bitch slapping them. How do I do it without wanting to, I'm just going to have to take some classes on how to say it the right way so I don't burn any bridges, but I'm always.
But when you're burning bridges for the right reason.
Okay. All right.
That's that step that you have to take. That's that extra step, that extra layer of awareness that we're talking about, because that's the only thing that is going to change the narrative of what has been going on.
It absolutely has. And I guess the bottom line question is, when are you going to have a more diverse and inclusive team? Because you do not represent the culture that's out there, the startup landscape that's out there. I mean, people of color are starting businesses left and right. Why? Why not? I mean, it's a full expression. It's a way to build wealth. It's important for their community. It's just a great way to be in the world. And for them to get funding is so hard. Yet you'll see all these millions of dollars sinking it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I think you're right. I think we have to, the white community has to say, no, we really, and I know this is really hard, everybody, because we all need money for our businesses and we need money to leverage. But I don't just have that list of questions investors are going to ask you. I have a list of questions you need to ask investors.
Right.
And if you're
because you want to have the right partnerships.
Yep, that's right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, they have to be doing the right thing. They really do. And you're right. We go back to your word of intent. What is your intention? And, we saw this coming out in all the brands coming out. It's like they took a template and they just filled in their brand name and filled in their brand this and then their brand that and put it out there. It was soulless. And then there were businesses that you took time to share.
Did you notice that?
Yes, because
you're so in tune with me.
But tell us more about why you were doing that.
Well, I felt it was important to show the counter and the good, and the example. Like you too, company X can be great. If you take the Target CEO and the Sweet Green, which is some of the ones that I shared, those statements were very heartfelt. And you can definitely tell the difference in which ones were the boilerplate ones, because it's something that was not, the passion was lacking. But even when you have the passion, we're at a point now where we still have to go back to the data and we still have to go back to the numbers and see, what actually is showing there. Because at this time, it can't just be about fluff.
That's right. And, if they want to fly their flag, it's going to have data. It's going to have to show, it can show movement. We've gone from this percent to this percent.
Right.
And retention is there too, because it's not just for a minute. The retention has to be there over time.
Right. And then that's the thing, we're not looking, and any time something's new, and this is a new time and space. Well, actually, it's not actually, because this happens every couple of years. And then, afterwards, what comes after? What's next? But when you're throwing the dots at perfection, we're also making progress.
Yes, I know. But I'm seeing a community, and I know Barbara Clark would love to be part of this community. But the one who goes, let's see how you're doing. Where are those numbers?
Right. Oh, she definitely is that person. She definitely is that person.
With conflict and difficult conversations. And we just need to have that committee that's always putting it out there. Oh, the scorecard. It should just be monthly. Here's the monthly scorecard of all the investment firms, VCs, tech firms in our incredible, vibrant startup ecosystem that we have in this wonderful city. Let's see how we're doing. And we should have a scorecard for them.
Yep.
I'm loving that idea. Yep. Loving that. So of course,
I definitely support it. Burning bridges for the right reason.
Yeah, but you have to.
Richard gave us a thumbs up for that one. Thank you, Richard.
Andy Jack said, now find. Oops, wait a minute. I wanted to do this. Did I pull up the wrong? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Now finding the right culture is becoming paramount for the younger Black generation as they look to commit to a city and or company after graduation.
Yeah.
Thank you, AJ, for that. And hey, Simeon Corbin, I hope I said that right. Great conversation, ladies. Why is it still so comfortable in 2020 for VCs in corporate Boston to claim they can't find Black and brown entrepreneurs and businesses to invest in?
I'm going to pull my hair out. Right. I'm going to pull my hair out.
Now that I can pull out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. And that's why I think a scorecard that we can, maybe post in Boston or some of the local rags and any other cities that are listening to this and are experiencing some of the same challenges in your startup community, Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, they do have different rankings out there, which are kind of similar to a scorecard. But
I know.
then it's like, how we need something else.
No, we need the Maven
something more.
check.
We need something more. And, like you said, Boston has been really active with bringing different organizations like BECMA and like the Men's Dinner Group and like a Maven's World and like Amplify Latin and different organizations that are trying to tie up what they say are needed and deliver them, that nicely wrapped package to assist.
Right.
So
and then go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Well, I was thinking Rachel O'Neill had a great post on LinkedIn today because she's all about having that great conversation, the one that bridges, that actually creates results. I just want to get in a barroom fight, so I'm no good. But, having those conversations to help folks rise to the occasion, to take the lens and shift it to a different view of the world. Just like, when you see that new car model, you're like, oh my gosh, where did all time? Whereas up until now, there's this, geez, I'm only seeing white graduates. I don't know. Maybe the people of color are not getting a degree in engineering or computer science. Not true.
Yeah, well, that's not true.
Right.
I think, the big, people don't like change. It's one of those things. Change is uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I think you see that across the board in all business segments.
Yeah. And so, and to that point, Eric Cox is asking, how do you distinguish between legitimate diversity initiatives and tokenism? Good question.
So that's a great question. I mean, you have to look at the culture and what's being done within it to keep, and retain and make sure that the person and the voices are heard. I think that's a great way to know, whether it's someone that basically is just, putting someone there to be a placeholder. They want to actually make sure that that person feels comfortable using their voice, being involved in assimilating, and also that they have room to grow. So again, that goes back to the measurements.
Yep.
And the accountability.
That's right. And I like your word voice. Who has a voice within the company and how influential is that voice? And I bring that up because, and this is another thing that is so normal and natural for startup founders, like you had said earlier, the tunnel vision. Yeah. And so they don't get out. Andy and I, with our monthly pitch event, it is all about diversity and inclusion. So everybody can see, from the founders who are pitching, the expert panelists, to the audience, this is what it looks like and what it should look like. Yes. But if you're so busy at your desk, constantly working and following your customer segments and traction and doing all the things you should be doing as a founder, of course, and don't get up and look around and go out into your community and go volunteer in some really important initiatives, build relationships with people who don't look like you or who are not like you. And then you'll find more bridges, and then you'll see things differently. It won't just be some data you're getting so that you're marketing and moving your business forward. It's data to think about the life of your business. Because, as I said right from the beginning of this show, the data shows that when you have an inclusive team, you are, as well as with innovation within the business. So I'll go, I can go on forever. And I know it, so as we said earlier, where are the resources for us to make these hiring decisions? Again, if it's your intent, your brain will find it, everybody. But you can reach out and ask folks. You can Google it your community. I'm part of a group. We're doing a workshop right now. It's with Founder Gym. We have over 70 participants in this coursework. I'm one of 4 whites. The group is filled with all walks of life, and smarty pants with all different types of experience and lived experiences, bringing incredible, rich, not just conversation, but talent and ability to the conversation. And that's what you do. You go take a course with a whole bunch of people who don't fit into your typical stream and group of race that you might be hanging out, or belief system that you're hanging out with.
Yeah.
And with that intention. So now I'd love to just sort of segue, except I do have one thing. AJ's got another quick comment here. Boston's tech luminaries in particular need to do a bit less mentoring and a lot more check writing.
I like that, Andy. I like that. Even though mentoring is very important, and hopefully, further, if after a while it does lead to check writing.
Well, yeah,
you never know.
I think what AJ's actually pointing out is that a lot of those checks end up going to the white founders, with all due respect. So,
I see. Okay, I'm just seeing the question.
Yeah.
Or the comment, should I say?
Yeah, and so that can be a real. And again, it's that unconscious bias.
Yep.
That we've got to continue to dissolve. And I think
so the way to get around that unconscious bias is to be intentional. Yeah. So just we gotta stop. We have to tear that wall down and be intentional and know it's the right thing to do.
Love that. And we've all been watching for 2 weeks now or more. Incredible movement, revolution, taking to the streets day after day after day in our country. And as you pointed out before, it's a problem that whites need to step up and take care of. That's what white privilege is about, is helping others who they don't even know they have white privilege or what it even means, to help educate. And I think it's the same way. And for the rest of us too, to donate, to educate, to show up, to stand up, and absolutely vote. But also for white founders to look around and see how you can give a lift, because the playing field is absolutely not equal.
Right. Well, to segue to that, Andy, and I want you to hold your thought as well. But the best people to handle or to create a solution are the ones that created the problem.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I think you were speaking and going down that road anyway, in regards to, again, allyships and white people. If it's a problem that needs to be handled, let's look to the ones who created it and see what solutions they have.
I was listening
because we've been bringing up ours.
Clearly, if you don't get that, folks, you're under a rock, or choosing not to see. But I was listening to a female founder, woman of color from Atlanta, and I thought she eloquently explained what it's like, in the fact that what it's like to give a lift. Okay. And it's not a handout. It's helping someone up, because we just don't understand as whites that we're not, we love to think it's all equal out there. What's the problem? You work hard and it happens. No, it does not.
I think that helps you sleep good at night. I don't think that people actually think that.
Yeah, I think that must be what it is. But they don't understand we were born on third base. We're already, quite far along. And also she was pointing out that if you see someone who is wheelchair bound and they're trying to get up a ramp, sure, they're going to get up that ramp. I mean, they know how to do that. But wow, what if you just got behind them and gave them a little push so they could have leftover energy to do all the other things they're working hard on during the day? To really acknowledge that, this is not, you cannot be colorblind. You have to be celebratory of color.
Right. So that goes to people saying they don't see color.
Right.
So when you say you don't see color, then you don't see the experiences that I have as a woman of color.
That's right. And that's no good. You can't have that. And then she also said that expecting other founders to come join you in your marathon would be again, using the wheelchair bound person, asking them to come on and, you know, run with you. They can't. They can't. And so for us to understand that as white founders and dig deep and figure out, okay, I want to do more, whether it's hiring for my team, but also supporting other people of color, businesses, own businesses. You know, what advice do you have, Anna, so that we can show up better for our colleagues that you've seen that has helped?
Well, I think we have to keep that word first and foremost of being intentional.
Yeah.
You know, and growth happens through difficult conversations. So you got to be willing to have the conversations, not just with people of color, but also with people that look like you,
Right.
and in your community. And you can't let your foot off the gas.
Nope.
You know, because we didn't get here overnight. So it's, you know, the changes that we're looking for are not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen with momentum.
I don't know, maybe I'm just, you know, the Andy-licious optimism is happening here, but
I like that name.
well, I think, you know, we will, you know, time will tell over the next few weeks, but I think there's been a shift here.
No, you mean data will tell.
Yes. What did I say? Time?
You said time.
Yeah, the data.
We'll say time and data.
And data. To see, I've just seen too many things happen, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the NFL says. I just, you know, if they really keep going and on that direction, okay, maybe I believe them. But the VC firms, we'll see how many people they give voice to. We'll see how many folks will be writing more checks, AJ, for people of color founders. But I've just been sensing a little bit more awareness in the white community.
So you're optimistic.
I'm a little, because again, we'll see what happens in a few months when things die down. But I feel like people are now going, oh, no, not on my shift. That's not happening. And here's why. Whereas before, I think people thought it wasn't their problem. And I think I see more of that shift happening.
It's like a great awakening in 2 weeks.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
I think people are willing to do the work. I'm seeing a little bit more signs of people going, okay, maybe I do need to read white fragility, or maybe I really do need to bring more people of color into my life or into my team and hear their voices. And maybe I do need to start standing up. So, you know, people of color, gay, whatever, you cannot tolerate any form of racism or any form of bullying. You just have to continue. Those of us who are of privilege because of the color of our skin, I believe, need to keep standing up. And I think that is what I'm seeing more of, is more of the I'm now going to stand up more.
Right.
Again.
And I think the support, you know, and it's kind of like the camaraderie is like just so in your face that you can't turn away from it. And so I'm not sure, you know, where it will go, you know, in the white community or, you know, on different boards or in corporations. We're hoping for change. But it definitely cannot be ignored presently.
Right. And
shouldn't have never been ignored, but it's really loud right now.
Clearly. I mean, if you listen to Robert Kennedy's speech after Martin Luther King was killed, it's still relevant completely today. And you wonder, that's decades have gone by since he said that. So Eric, yes, I think the fact that people have been home and there are not as many distractions is the big difference.
People can't run from it. That's a good point, Eric.
I like that. So Anna, what are your thoughts around what you've seen happen that feels maybe a little bit different than other revolutionary moments in the last 20, 30 years? What are you seeing anything that might help move the cause forward and help us be more aware, help founders be better leaders and in having diverse teams, but also in our communities and in our making our own lives more rich and more diverse and more inclusive.
Right. Yeah. So I see the conversations, whether it's speaking to, your friends on the phone, all over social media, on the Black Tuesday hashtag, just to see how many Black squares were up in support. And, the different commentators that are on the news and different conversations that are being had within different organizations. They're very different from what I've experienced in the past. But again, I'm not heavily moved by it because I know that there's so much more work that needs to be done. And I'm staying very focused on getting the work done.
Excellent.
And making sure that it's being done.
And on that note, how can we help you get the work done? How can we stand up and show up for you?
Well, thanks for asking. So again, you see how busy I am. I mean,
Yes,
it's easy as supporting by sharing, things that I'm posting. I always try to share different projects that startups are working on, different small entrepreneurs are working on, because obviously they need the support a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, you never know what different resources are out there for them. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just keep people engaged, continue to create community, continue to push forward the best, people being their best through our personal and professional development, our conference, which is our biggest event. So, just connecting good people through good people and continuing to have good conversations is how you can support me.
I tell you, you are so grounded in reality, so grounded in your truth. I mean, I just feel like, yes, we've had this going on, but we have a lot of work to do. And that's what I'm focusing on. And I'm not going to get distracted by Andy-liciousness over here and there that she's picking up on this optimism. You know what you're doing. And that's wonderful, because that's who we want to be supporting. We want to be supporting organizations like yours who are year after year making inroads and making this happen. And I think I'll reach out to Barbara Clark and say, why don't we get that checklist going? Let's be that.
Yeah. That would be great.
Be the scorecard people for at least the Boston community, and see
That'll
what
be awesome.
we can do to help hold people's feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Long
So
after
we do have our 9th year annual women's conference coming up. As you know, it's for women of color. And, we're in the planning stages for that. And I'm still doing my brand strategy and marketing, business and coaching. So if there's any brands out there that need business coaching, that's what I do on a regular basis. And, the other thing is just wake up and be mindful and be intentional about what's going on in the world and how you can make it a better place. So that's the other way, that you can support the work that I'm doing.
I love that, Anna. Oh my gosh. And here we go, connecting with good people. I love that. Thanks for tuning in, Jacob Gordon. It helps when you're connecting with good people and you can work elbow to elbow. But I put all the links to your LinkedIn, to Twitter, to Instagram, and to your website of Maven's World in the comment threads, Anna, so people can start connecting with you and finding out and learning more about you and your remarkable work. We have the great honor and deliciousness of you in our community, and rely on you to be our barometer check to keep us focused on the important work that's going on. So I am thrilled you came on here to the Startup Life show and shared.
It flew by really quickly.
I know, it goes by quickly. It was great conversation. And I love your background. I love everything that you're doing. And viewers, thank you for joining us tonight. I am genuinely grateful for your time and your commitment to your startup, for being more successful, because you are going to open yourself up to folks from all backgrounds and really understand that that diverse and inclusive team is what will help your business be more successful. The numbers do not lie.
They don't.
They don't. So we have that to back that up. And for those of you who are watching the recording on my YouTube channel, I would be so grateful if you were to subscribe. You hit that subscribe button right down there in that corner and click on the bell icon. It would mean the world to me. You'll be alerted every time I post a new video. And please subscribe to my monthly newsletter, Let's Stick Together. It's all about ways to help you keep your startup moving forward. And also, do you need a pitch deck review? Because I've raised millions from VCs, thousands from angels, and hello, I co-host a monthly pitch event right here in Boston called Founders Live Boston, where 5 featured founders pitch their business every month to an eager audience and a supportive audience and investors. So I know how to make sure your pitch deck will be the best for when you present to investors and when you present to your next pitch event. And this is not a time to be going alone as a founder. I know the tunnel vision, as Anna was talking about, can kick in and you can think, I got this. What, you've been a founder how many times? I don't think so. You're going to get there faster and you're not going to waste a lot of money when you have a mentor. And I'm happy to hold your hand. I've had 4 businesses that I've raised from scratch. And I understand what keeps you awake at night. So we can have a startup strategy session, a funding strategy session. You can bring me on as your coach month after month. We can have emergency calls, whatever works for you, but do not go it alone because you can get too caught up in too many details and be missing the opportunities for your business. To stay up on the next Startup Life Show live show, be sure to join my meetup group, Startup Life Live, to receive alerts about next events. And that can be found at bit.ly/Startup Life Live. And if I were really on the ball, I would be doing this. Ta-da! Hold on.
There you go.
Hold on. Can I get that to come up? No. Oh, here we go. Hey, I did it. Let's stick together. There's my newsletter. You know, I got to have calls to action here, right, folks? And the meetup group, so you know when the next show is happening. Oh my gosh. Anna, thank you so much for joining in.
You're welcome.
And viewers.
Keep asking the hard questions.
Yeah.
People out there, keep asking the hard, wet questions. Change is going to come.
Yes, it will. I think I'm feeling it. And thank you, Eric. Thank you, Richard O. Thank you, Diane from Seattle. And AJ, my wonderful co-host. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Watch the data. That's right. Good one. I like that. Watch the data.
Watch the data. And AJ, I'm going to be watching our local community. Yeah. This is, a lot of people came out all gung-ho. And I got to say, I want to see the numbers. Exactly.
And the numbers determine, and I know we got to go, the numbers determine who we're going to support.
Thank you. See, that is what I took away from what AJ was bringing up and what you were saying. Who are we going to support? Yeah. You want to bring your VC business over here and over there and be participating. Tell us more.
At the end of the day, choice is the real power.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Did I already say this? Hi, thank you, Richard O. from Northern California. And I know there are lots of people who are tuning in on all the different platforms. Thank you. If you have any questions, remember, please pop them into the comment threads or reach out to us individually. What's your email, Anna? How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, so it's Anna with 2 N's at amavensworld.com.
Perfect.
And don't forget, I have my book on Amazon, my workbook, which is Mindfulness for Entrepreneurs.
Oh, Anna, I'm so sorry. I would have had that in the banner the whole time.
That's okay.
I'll have it in the show notes, everybody. So
intentional and happy living.
Yep.
Mindfulness for Entrepreneurs. You can find it on Amazon.
And Anna is serious when she says that's not an oxymoron. You can be mindful and an entrepreneur. It feels
Yes.
like you have so many balls in the air, but you can
Yeah.
take those moments to tune in and listen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much again for carving out time. I am so grateful. I want you all to remember to stay focused and stay tuned in to your business. Keep upping your game as founders. Stay healthy. Okay. If you have to stay home, stay home. And please remember, you've got this. Founders know how to do hard things. And I really do believe in you. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Mwah.